Forced to leave them to the sharks that prowl around Cape Horn. Ladies and gentlemen, how do you do? Good afternoon, thank you for being here. My name is Aiden Woody Travis Walker Slater, and I'm here to tell you about the good ship Amphitrite and to link it into the building of this here muddy ditch we call the Grand Junction Canal. Surrounded by geese and ducks and coots and hens and all sorts of lovely stuff there, making music and hopefully living in peace, which is something that our forefathers and the men of the HMS Amphitrite never knew. They never knew peace, and I say they never knew peace because unfortunately several months after this song was written, HMS Amphitrite was wrecked off the coast of Ushant with the loss of all lives. That was the price you paid for serving in the Royal Navy in those days. So the song goes on to tell us not about politics, not about global domination, but it goes on to tell us about the lives of the sailors who lived upon that ship. And you can imagine the conditions on that ship, ladies and gentlemen. The conditions are terrible. There was pestilence, there were rats, it was filthy, it was cramped, it was squalid. It was just like a canal boat of modern days, really. And anyone who lives on a boat now will probably recognize the conditions on HMS Amphitrite. She was named after the Greek goddess of the sea, Amphitrite, who was the wife of Poseidon. They were obsessed in those days with replicating the classical age of the ancient Romans and the ancient Greeks. So HMS Amphitrite was named after the Greek goddess of the sea. And I was going to say, yes, so the song goes on to conclude the life of a merry jolly sailor in the time of King George IV, who was the reigning monarch at that time, a German, I might add. He would have only have spoke German, and it's just another example of how this country's history has been affected by pretty much every other nation on the world, and not just the people who were indigenously born here, of course, of which there are very, very few. I'd just like to add that my ancestors at that time were Irish, and they would not have been welcome in London at all. They would have been seen as degenerates and a threat to the local inhabitation. And you probably heard the stories of how all the boarding houses around London during the time when the railways and the canals were built would have a sign saying, "No dogs, no blacks, and no Irish." Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid that I would have fallen into that category, as I'm sure many of us would have. And these days, of course, we welcome people from all over the world, and we like to live in peace, in harmony, and to enjoy each other's music. HMS Amphitrite gets around Cape Horn, and then what happens? When we got round the Horn, me boys, we experienced glorious days, till finally our killick dropped in Valparaiso Bay. The local girls came down to us. I solemnly declare they are far beyond the Plymouth girls with their long dark curly hair. They love a jolly sailor who'll spend his money free. They'll laugh and joke and merry be and have a jovial spree. And when your money is all gone, they won't on you impose. They are not like the Plymouth girls who will steal and sell your clothes. Thank you very much. Right, well, thank you. Having dominated the world in the late 1700s, early 1800s, the result was this huge industrial revolution in this country, and a great growth in trade across the seas. And ships got bigger and bigger and faster, and plied across the Atlantic, the Pacific, the Indian Oceans, taking goods from Britain and bringing back all sorts of lovely exotic stuff from the New World. And it's during this period of commercial growth that we get a new cultural phenomenon, which is the sea shanty. Now, the sea shanty grew up amongst the merchant vessels, not amongst the warships. A way of binding the crews into one working unit. These crews would have come from all sorts of nations and had lots of different languages. So in order to make everybody work together, they would develop a language of their own. And this language was the language of song. And it was very dependent upon keeping a certain time. And during the chorus or the refrain of these songs would have been the time when the crew of the ships would have hauled upon the ropes and made things happen, either to brace the yards, to haul on the bowline in order to come alongside, in order to steer. All these things were done with precision timing, and the precision timing was governed by the rhythm of the song. So we're going to try and encourage you, if we can. We're going to try and encourage you to join in as if you were members of the crew of one of these great sailing vessels. So the first one we're going to do is called South Australia. And now South Australia was one of the furthest destinations that these sailors would have had to reach out to, and it didn't involve going around Cape Horn like we've just discussed, which is one of the fiercest and most tumultuous oceans on the world. So I'm going to sing, pardon me, the verse.
Yep. And there's more of those papers inside. You can, if anybody else wants to sing along, there's actually, song lyrics to sing along.
Thank you very much.
And there's some empty seats up here.
And there's empty seats, Captain Eric said.
And Pandora's Diary here, my glamorous assistant, is going to sing the chorus. Now ultimately what's going to happen is Sarah and I are going to sing the verse, and you guys are going to sing the chorus. But just as a demonstration for the first point, I think Sarah's going to sing the chorus. So we're bound for South Australia, ladies and gentlemen. Try and join in as and when you can. You've got your papers here. In South Australia I was born.
Heave away, haul away.
In South Australia on Cape Horn.
We're bound for South Australia.
So roll away, you're rolling king.
Heave away, haul away.
Heave away, you'll hear me sing.
We're bound for South Australia.
That was horrible.
That was
Again.
What are you saying?
Didn't even try. No, that's okay. This time you join in. Sarah will sing the chorus.
I'll sing with you.
Pick a key, any key.
You can
Let
sing
yourself
in
in.
harmony, that'd be great. Yeah, do a whole harmony thing. I'll just sing the low bit.
Okay. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. Where South Australia I was born.
Heave away, haul away.
In South Australia on Cape Horn.
We're
Bound for South Australia.
So haul away a rolling king.
Heave away, haul away.
And haul away you'll hear me sing.
We're bound for South Australia.
Beautiful. As I went out one morning fair,
Heave away, haul away.
was there I met young Nancy
We're
Blair.
bound for South Australia.
Go haul away a rolling king.
Heave away, haul away.
And haul away you'll hear me sing.
We're bound for South Australia.
Well now there's one thing on my mind.
Heave away, haul away.
Well, it's a leaving Nancy Blair behind.
We're bound for South Australia.
So roll away a rolling king.
Heave away, haul away.
Yeah, roll away, you'll hear me sing.
We're bound for South Australia.
Yeah, roll away a rolling king.
Heave away, haul away.
Yeah, roll away, you'll hear me sing.
Bound for South Australia.
As we wallop round Cape Horn,
Heave away, haul away.
I wish to God you'd never been born.
We're bound for South Australia.
Oh, heave away a rolling king.
Heave away, haul away.
Yeah, roll away, you'll hear me sing.
We're bound for South Australia.
Yeah, roll away, you'll hear me sing.
Heave away, haul away.
Yeah, hold away, you'll hear me sing.
Bound for South Australia.
I was born
Away, Holloway,
in South Australia around Cape
South
Horn.
Australia.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You've done brilliantly. A little girl with a baby in British, she's done brilliantly. I was promised that Yummy, who's selling these marvelous artifacts there in the marketplace. Yummy did promise that he'd come and join in. We've got another song to go, and I think
Yummy's
we've
a
also
liar.
got Sammy, who selling porcelain a little bit further down that line of tents there. Also promised that if I gave her a mention, she'd come out and help us to sing the next song. Thank you, Yummy.